Alright, let's take a look at adding and subtracting decimals. When you're adding and subtracting decimals, what you can do is just think. You can think about money. And with the U.S. currency that we have, I mean, obviously we call this the dollars place, and the dimes or the tens, and then these are the pennies or the hundredths. So I like to think about it that way because then it makes it easy to remember to line up the decimals. I'm not going to add the dimes to the dollars. I'm not going to line up the numbers on this thing. I'm going to line up the decimals. Here we go. So 0.54 plus 1.5. So again, we're lining up the decimals, not the numbers. And here we go. 4, and then there's nothing here, but you can imagine a 0, right? Because it's just nothing there. So this is a 4, 10, carry your 1, and there we have it, 2.04. The way to say this officially would be 2 and 400ths. This right here, when you're supposed to say the word and, that's actually reserved for the decimal only. So when we're saying other numbers and we throw in the and there, that's actually not correct. Let's take a look at another one. I'm going to line up the decimal with the other decimal, and here we go. 1 plus nothing in that spot is 1. There's a 4, and this is 841. Pretty simple. Okay. Now let's move to subtraction. Subtraction sometimes is a little more difficult for people, especially when you don't see the decimal. And I just want to remind you that when you do not see a decimal, it is always at the end of the number. Okay, it's just at the end. And if I say I have $5, this right here I could say I have $5, but I also could say I have $5, right? So it means the same thing. All right. So I have 5 take away 32 hundredths. So I'm going to line up my decimal. Now this one might look a little scary to some people, but it's no big deal if you just remember that there are zeros here and here. In fact, I'm going to put them on here this time. In fact, I'll make them solid, right? Those are the things I'm putting in there. So now we're just going to subtract. Excuse me. Obviously, I can't subtract 2 from 0. Nor can I borrow from the next one over here. So I'm going to have to go all the way down to the 5 and borrow. So that's going to be a 4. What happened is I took one of those, and as soon as it moved over to the place value to the right of it, it became 10. Okay, so there's that. Oops. So now, instead of a 0 there, I have a 10, but we can't put 2 digits there. Besides, I need to borrow from that column anyway, that place, to give to the next one to the right of it, right? And so that becomes a 10. So here we go. 10 take away 2 is 8. 9 take away 3 is 6. And then 4 take away nothing is 4. So we have 468. 4 and 68 hundredths. Okay, so we'll do another subtraction one. Okay, so as I line these up, whoops. Now, this 23, right, has an understood decimal there, so I'm going to line up the decimal there. So there's nothing here, and remember, 1 take away nothing is just 1. 0 take away 0 is 0, so that's not a problem. I didn't have to borrow or anything. And then, of course, there's nothing and nothing, so 100th, right? That's the answer to that one. Last one. Going to see a little bit more borrowing in this one. I'm going to put the decimal on, and I'm going to add the 2 zeros, right? Because I'm going to then line up the decimal for the 3489. All right, lots of borrowing here. Let's just take our time. I'm going to go all the way to the 6, make that a 5, and now I know that that's going to turn this column into a 10 because nothing was there. However, I need to borrow from the 10. I'll move this guy out of the way. I borrow from the 10, make it a 9, and now this one is a 10. Okay, so 10 minus 9 is 1, 9 minus 8 is 1, 5 minus 4 is 1. Now, again, I need to borrow, but don't try to set it all up before, and have everything lined up. You just need to get what you need when you need it. So now we need something here. We need something here, so I'm going to go borrow. There's a 1. That becomes 10. But I borrow from it, and that becomes a 10. Here we go. 10 take away 3 is 7. 9 take away nothing is 9. And 1 take away nothing is 1. So we have 1,971 and 11 hundredths. Okie doke. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.